All right, America and beyond. It is U.S. Open week, the second major of 2020 in September, which is weird, but we're here. Welcome to the Tour Junkies podcast. I am David Barnett, your host. Pat Perry with me as well, my other handsome host. We're ready to roll. I've got my 2016 Golby Ryder Cup shirt on. I brought it out from deep down in the drawer. This thing got a lot of attention, back at Hazeltine. Do you remember that, Pat?
Oh yeah, it definitely got some good attention. It's a great shirt. Yeah, it's and you know what? Obviously very fitting for the week.
Yes, very fitting. I'm excited. We're at Winged Foot. We're going to get right into this very quickly. First of all, got to take care of business, which is, what kind of podcast juice are we sipping on for the U.S. Open podcast? For me, I have one more time a transfusion with my lovely Wild Leap vodka out of LaGrange, Georgia. Check out Wild Leap. So I'll be sipping on a tranny, man. Transfusion.
Well, we are sipping on a tranny, huh? Sipping on a tranny.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. In 2020, perfectly fine. If you are said tranny or you're sipping on said tranny, totally okay with us. No harm. No harm at all.
No issues whatsoever.
You do you. You do you.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And here's what I'm doing. I'm drinking the same thing you're drinking. I got a little transfusion going right now. I want to have a lot going, actually.
We haven't talked about that, which means there's some symbiotic stuff going on right now.
But I feel like I haven't turned it up a notch in the podcast lately. I mean, you've actually kind of, you've had a few nights that have maybe surpassed me a little bit, but I'm going to turn it up tonight. This is going to be, this is the U.S. Open. I'm feeling good, and I'm just going to drink a lot and talk some picks and whatever.
Apparently last week I got there and my eyelids started closing. So, and our friend Marcus Miklovich and Josh Kistler decided to make a t-shirt that was not funny at all. So
I thought it was pretty damn funny.
Yeah, so I'm excited about it. Whatever. Let's move on. Let's quickly talk about the schedule for the week. We are recording this on Sunday night, so it's one night early for us. We wanted to get the content out there to you. The pricing has been up for a while on DraftKings. We felt like this was better. The earlier, the better. We're going to get on it. So we're going to talk about DraftKings picks here in a little bit. Pat's obviously going to talk about the golf course. I'm going to throw a bit of information going around on Winged Foot if you want to look for it right now. But we're going to get into that, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our first looks at the sports book. You know what I mean? Taking a look at DraftKings Sportsbook, PointsBet Sportsbook, where you can go to kind of find some good early odds on outrights, but a lot of matchups, top 10s, top 20s. None of that's been posted yet, which is why you need to keep up with us on the website on tourjunkies.com, because tomorrow, so on Monday, you're probably listening to this on Monday. So today, Ben has 5 extra bonus stats this week. So instead of 10 key stats, it's 15 key stats. Wow. I believe. Wow. Okay. 15 key stats. If you just want to like, what's the hot dog guy's name? The hot dog champion, Joey Chestnut. If you just want to Joey Chestnut and just shove stats in your mouth this week for the US Open, then Ben is basically your wiener supplier is what he is. So we're going to have that up on the website for free. And then very early on Tuesday, if not tomorrow, I might even get started tomorrow. DB's Big Balls betting card will be up there, which right now I am actively sweating our first hit of the year at 100-1 on Harry Higgs, who is on the 18th hole down by 1, but I think Stewart Cink's about to lock it up, which is just the most 2020 thing ever, is what Pat said earlier. Stewart Cink winning would be the most 2020 thing ever. Yes.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, the Big Balls betting card for the U.S. Open. The first look will be out very soon, Monday or Tuesday. I'll follow that up on Wednesday night with some last minute, like, here's what I've locked in. So if you want to gamble $50, that's what I do. I basically say, if you want to gamble $50, let's have some fun, and let me tell you where I would spend it. And then FGS, Pat's Fantasy Golf Sommelier article will be out on Wednesday probably, where you can learn a little bit about some wine and alcohol. As well
this week it's going to be out. It might even be out Tuesday morning. Since we're recording this Sunday, it's been
You're already
3 weeks
drunk,
in a row.
Apparently. That's nice.
Huh?
You're already
What?
drunk, I guess.
No, I mean, the last 3
good.
weeks have gotten out on Tuesday. You still haven't paid attention to that, but that's okay.
My bad. And then what else? What else? Oh, the pivot point. My article that I write where I name 2 to 3 really chalky players in terms of DFS and who you should pivot to. So that's all free on tourjunkies.com. And then, of course, we'll be in the Nut Hut chat on Wednesday night. We'll talk more about that later. That is what is going down this week. We're excited about it. It's going to be a full Nut Hut on Wednesday night. Me, Pat, Ben, we're ready to go. It's going to be a great chat time. So that's it. Winged Foot is going to be great. I'm pumped. Pat, let's get to the course breakdown and learn a little bit more about Winged Foot while I check and make sure that Harry Higgs has, in fact, probably lost this golf tournament to Stuart effing Sink, who just birdied the 18th hole after hitting a 326-yard drive. If Stuart Sink is hitting a 326-yard drive and getting home in 2 on a 586-yard par 5, we got to roll the golf ball back, people. Like, this is appropriate for the USGA. It's USGA week. Let's roll the freaking golf ball back. I haven't been a proponent of that until now, but geez, I mean, Stuart Sink, 586-yard par 5. He gets there in 2, no problem. Taps in for birdie. Now Higgs has to eagle. My 100-to-1 bet is no longer.
Sorry about that. Let's get into the course breakdown though for the U.S. Open, which is more important because we're gonna hit way more bets than whatever this week. I think we'll see. Anyway, this is the 120th U.S. Open Championship being played at Winged Foot Golf Club. This is the West Course, the Winged Foot Golf Club. This is the West Course. It is a fantastic course and a great challenge for these guys. So I'm excited to see it. It is a par 70, playing almost 7,500 yards. You got 144 players in the field this week. Actually, 143 now because Scotty Scheffler is not in the field due to COVID, which really upsets me. I had him all over the place here before the show, and it just came out about an hour ago. So that is disappointing.
A big bummer. Hate that for Scotty.
Top 60 in ties, by the way, make the cut this week. Not 65 as we're used to.
That's a big deal. I think you should say that again for the people in the back.
Okay, one more time. Top 60 in ties out of this field of 144 players, 143, will make the cut this week. Top 60 in ties. That's 3 times I've said it now, so hopefully you will listen to that. This is an old school kind of parkland style golf course, an A.W. Tillinghast design. I love his courses. He is just a classical designer. Baltusrol was one of his designs, several other ones. I mean, the guy's just a great designer of golf courses. There's a lot of definition on this course, but not really like a ton of trees. It's kind of all right there in front of you. You got POA narrow fairways. The rough is going to be high. We've already seen reports on Twitter and things like that. People love to do the ball, like dropping the ball into the rough. Like
that is such the move. That is such the move.
You get so many of those tweets, but look, it's thick rough, okay? And they're narrow fairways. You've got to hit them. So that's very important. And then the greens, though, are where just the meat of this course is. You got Poana greens, or you could, some people may say bent, but they're really listed as 80% POA with some bent in there as well, but they're going to be bumpy. Severe undulation on these greens. A lot of comparisons to Augusta. A lot of them slope front to back. I think that's important to think about. And they're pretty small greens as well. So, they're tough to hit. They're undulating. I mean, everything about these greens makes them a major championship style course. So I think if you miss the greens, for sure, you're definitely going to have to be good at scrambling. I mean, you look at the last time they played here when Jeff Ogilvy won, he talked about that a little bit, about how he really scrambled well on this course. He was also second in the field in total driving, which is a stat we don't always look at now. Back then, they didn't have all these strokes gained stats, but basically it's when you look at length off the tee plus accuracy. So you're kind of going to want to mix that, like, distance and accuracy this week. If you can find those guys that sort of fit that category, I think you're going to find a guy that has a chance to do extremely well this week. I think it's going to play firm and fast. I don't know if you've looked at the weather, DB, but right now I don't know if there's a whole lot of rain in the forecast. And if we get it firm and fast,
there was not.
Yeah, if we get it firm and fast, this course is going to play. I mean, I think over par could win it. I mean, we'll see. And that's definitely what the USGA wants.
Yeah,
But who
there's no
knows?
rain in the forecast no like substantial chance of rain in the forecast until maybe Friday, and that's
Yeah.
only 40%. And then Saturday and Sunday looks pretty clear, so it's gonna be dry.
Yeah, and they're not going to be turning the sprinklers on this week at all. So
Yeah.
you'll need to worry about that. But as far as stats, I'm definitely looking at form. I'm looking at that driving accuracy stat I mentioned with distance mixed in. I look at bogey avoidance always during the U.S. Open. Guys that aren't making big numbers, that aren't making a ton of bogeys, I think that's important as well. And then strokes gained approach and scrambling. Again, these greens are very tough to hit. You got to be great with your approach game, and if you do miss them, you got to be scrambling your ass off. So there you go. That is the quick course breakdown, DB.
Yeah, great course breakdown, Pat. Loved it. By the way, for those of you, I'll say it again: top 60 in ties. So and there's a lot of players. There's a lot of players. So you're going to have a very small percentage that get 6 of 6 through. We should all expect to see carnage. And with the way the golf course is setting up to play, there's not going to be a lot of birdies. There's probably not going to be any eagles, except somebody's going to luck box into one, I'm sure. But a lot of the scoring is going to come from where these guys finish in the golf tournament, especially if you finish top 5, top 10, and you get those extra DraftKings points in terms of DFS. That's going to be a pretty big deal. So you need to think about that when you make your lineups. You got to think, I need lineup construction where literally, if I can get 6 guys that have legitimate win equity and win upside in a lineup, that's what I need to shoot for. But you are going to have the winner in your lineup to even think about placing, in the top 0.5% of a GPP and tournament lineup if you're playing in some of the big ones, the milli makers, the things like that. Obviously, I agree with a lot of the stats. Accuracy is a big deal. So we got a message tonight, Pat, from our friend on Instagram who is a caddy. He's walked the course today. And like everybody on Twitter is like, man, the rough is super thick. Good drivers of the golf ball are going to do great. Right now, it's still pretty slow and soft, but I know by the end of the week, it's going to be a nightmare. He says that the greens are going to be bouncing all over the place, is what he says. And that's what you get with POA anyway. And I think that tends to neutralize the good putters. I think it tends to bring all putters onto the same level. If you have, it doesn't mean that great putters can't still do well, but I think it takes a little bit of the pop out of the bat for a really, really good putter. So with POA greens and the bounciness and how firm they're likely to be, there is sub air under these green systems, so they can suck the air out of the moisture out of those things if they want and get them even faster on the weekend. They can burn these babies up to the ground if they want. So I'm not really, I don't really care that much about putting this week. I just don't. I know that these greens are tough. You mentioned how undulating they are. To me, that's all about distance control with your irons and wedges and creativity around the greens from a scrambling standpoint. I love what you said about Jeff Ogilvy talking about the scrambling. I think that's going to be a big deal. I'm weighting strokes gained around the green heavier than I normally do because of that. I do want guys that, hit fairways and hit greens. But listen, out here, it looks pretty inevitable that you could be the straightest guy out there and you're going to miss fairways and miss greens here. So you better be able to get it up and down. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at bogey avoidance, patience, thinking about a mindset of a player, somebody that's not super aggressive, somebody that's got a little bit of, maybe a little long in the tooth, you know what I mean? A little bit of experience, not too aggressive, kind of a grinder type, par is your friend. And what we've seen over the years is most winners come out of the top 30 in the world. Top 30 in the world golf ranking is where most winners come from. So when you're constructing your lineups, you have to make sure you're looking at that going, okay, I have 3 or 4 or 5 guys in here that give me a legitimate chance of winning the tournament if I can't get all 6. So I think those are things to think of. And obviously in terms of DFS, ownership, right, Pat? It's all about ownership. So ownership leverage.
Definitely.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, I agree with almost pretty much everything you said. I wish there was a stat that, if you want to talk about putting, a stat that could just like drill down the guys that putt really well on extremely fast undulating greens. But we don't have that. So you're just going to have to kind of, maybe go with those guys that are in good recent form as far as the putting is concerned and things like that. But I don't know. I agree. I don't know if I'm going to sit there and drill down too much on these. You have these guys though that do typically just tend to putt well on those type greens, and that's where really kind of watching golf comes into play a little bit.
Yeah.
Just paying attention to what's going on. But
you could narrow that down actually on Fantasy National if you knew the courses that fit that mold. So if you're a member at Fantasy National and like course 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are undulating fast POA whatever greens, you could restrict your search to just those greens and look at guys who putted well there. I don't know how big your sample size is going to be for something like that. I would be wary of that, but it is something you could do if you wanted to on Fantasy National. Speaking of Fantasy National, thanks to those guys for taking care of us 3rd year in a row, going on 4 years with Fantasy National. That is our go-to spot for stats, for ownership information, for lineup builders, lineup optimizers. That's where our models come from. That's where we find all these PGA Tour stats. All these stats that we reference come from, the majority of them come from Fantasy National. We've been using them for, like I said, almost 4 years now, and they take great care of Tour Junkies listeners. So if you haven't already signed up for Fantasy National, you can go to fantasynational.com/TJ and you get 20% off any subscription that you do. You can join weekly, monthly, or annually on Fantasy National. So you can try for this week. And then if you love it, keep it up. Change it to the month or the year membership, and you keep the 20% discount all the way through. It's a great thing. So go to fantasynational.com/TJ, or when you sign up, you can just use the promo code Tour Junkies. Tell them Tour Junkies sent you and get that 20% off and help us out too. It helps us out. So love the stuff over there at Fantasy National, and they've been taking care of us for a while. All right. Well, I feel like, there's so many things that people can get, information they can get on Winged Foot. I feel like that's enough about the golf course and kind of our approach as well. So let's get into some picks. Let's get into some players on DraftKings. I want to be pretty disciplined here, despite the big names. We're going to give you, if you're new to the podcast, we break things up into GPPs or tournaments, which are large, guaranteed prize pool tournaments on DraftKings, on FanDuel, where, it's very top heavy, and only the top 20 or so percent are going to get paid out. And you're trying to finish in the top 1%, right? Or better. So ownership leverage is a big deal in GPPs. Having low owned players that pop, not having high owned players that suck is a big deal in those. We're also going to have cash plays, which is our, who cares about ownership? Who cares about how popular they are? We feel like these guys are going to play really well, play them no matter what in cash games, head-to-heads, 50-50s, and double-ups on those DFS sites. And then we're going to give you our fades in each category. Guys to avoid. Guys we think if you're going to plant a flag, don't play these guys for whatever reason. That's what we're going to do. That's how we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down into 9K and above, 8K, 7K, and 6K. And then when we get into 6K, Pat, I have something special. I've done a lot of digging into the 6K because you know what? We get so many questions every week, every Wednesday night in the Nut Hut, don't we? What's like the most popular question in the Nut Hut, Pat?
Oh, it's definitely your favorite play under 7K.
Who are your favorite guys under 7K, right? Because everybody's trying to stack the top guys. Now, if you were in the Nut Hut this past week for the Safeway on Thursday morning, because they didn't tee off till like 10 or I think it was 10 Eastern time. One of my favorites was a guy named Harry Higgs, who just finished runner-up at the Safeway, and he was 3% owned, and he was $6,000. So everybody's always looking for these little nuggets, right? So I really went through some of the names in the 6K, especially the guys coming over from the European Tour that a lot of people don't have any familiarity with. So I want to give you my favorite plays in the 6K, but if you stick around long enough, I'm also going to talk through some of those names in the European Tour, coming from the European Tour, that I think may be worth a look and maybe you should just forget are there. Don't even get caught up, right? Because I think you're going to get ownership leverage with just about all of them. So looking at who I think could pop in that range, I want to spend a little more time on that. But let's start 9K and above, 3 tournament or GPP plays, a cash play, and a fade. Pat, are you going to play Dustin Johnson? And if not, or if so, who else are you going to play?
I think I will have some DJ shares. He's not listed as, since we're narrowing it down a little bit more here, he's not listed as one of my plays this week, but I could still end up with some shares of DJ at 11.5. I don't mind that. I think, like you said, there's a lot of good guys in the 6K range that you can play and fit DJ in your lineup. So, but I'm starting at Justin Thomas at 10.7. I like the price for him. Obviously coming in good form. He was second 2 weeks ago at the Tour Championship. Checks the box. He's obviously a great ball striker. Approach, he's number 2 in the field, top 20 in the field in scrambling, 34th in driving distance, 30th in bogey avoidance. Doesn't check the box in driving accuracy, but you'll see that a lot with these top guys. It's very hard to match a guy, in this that has a ton of distance with accuracy. You're not going to see a guy that's like number 1 in accuracy and number 1 in distance. There's just no, like, if we see that guy, he's winning every single damn golf tournament ever. So I love some Justin Thomas this week. I think his ownership might be a little lower. I think, more people are going to go to some guys around him, but we'll see where that ends up. But I like him. He is one of my favorite plays here. So that is my first GPP play. My second is Xander Schauffele at 10-1. I absolutely love him. Now, you talk about a guy that can check the box in both distance and accuracy. That is Xander Schauffele. He's also number 1 in the field in bogey avoidance. He is 7th in scrambling, and he is also top 20 in ball striking. The approach game, not as good right now, but we've seen him in great form. Again, just like JT was second at the Tour Championship, another course that's very difficult off the tee, and you've got to keep it in the fairway. And it's just, I think Xander is just primed and ready to win his first major championship. So at 10-1, I like him as well for your tournament lineups. My last GPP play, I think, is going to be a little bit controversial. I think you're not going to like this one because there's some stat categories where he doesn't really check the box. Okay. But I like what I saw with him at the PGA Championship just a few weeks ago at Harding Park on another very difficult course, and he's been in good form most of the year. Tony Finau at 9,100. And I'm wondering where his ownership is going to fall because he's right there next to Berger, who we know is going to be extremely popular. And I love Berger, but I think he's going to be a little bit chalky. Hideki probably won't. I don't know. Cantlay might not. But I feel like a lot of people are going to go down there and look at Berger and say, okay, Berger, check. And they're going to take him, and they're going to forget about Finau this week. But you look at it, he's 20th in the field in ball striking, 25th in approach. He's top 10 in driving distance, top 20 in bogey avoidance. I feel like Finau is ready for a good week. And we've seen him play good almost all year. He was 5th at the BMW just a few weeks ago. He had that 4th place finish at the PGA Championship. So I like him. And I'm going to be very interested to see when ownership projections come out where Tony Finau is, because typically he is pretty high end. But I just wonder if this week it's going to be a little bit less than normal. As far as a cash play, I feel like this is very easy. Webb Simpson at 9,700. He's got great U.S. Open experience. He's obviously won one before. You talk about sort of the mentality factor of a golfer. Webb fits that perfectly for the U.S. Open. I mean, there's not a stat that shows that, but he's just very calm, very cool. He doesn't get too up or down on a golf course. He's got a great caddy in Paul Tesori, and then he's obviously in fantastic form. So I think Webb Simpson makes for a pretty easy, just, forget it, set it and forget it cash play at 9,700. I like that. And then my fade is going to be Bryson DeChambeau, and I don't care what you think about him as far as his personality and whatever else. I just don't like him for his game for a U.S. Open. He's the opposite of Webb. I think he gets a little bit flustered when he starts spraying it or doesn't do something right or whatever. I think the U.S. Open is just not a great tournament now, or tournament for him. I like him for the Masters, something like that. Yeah. But I don't like him at a U.S. Open. And he's just, he hasn't played near as well as when we had the restart. And he's obviously he's number 1 in the field in driving distance, but He's also 114th in the field in driving accuracy. His approach game, he's 126 in strokes gained approach. And around the greens, he is 91st. So I just don't see Bryson doing anything, in that price of 9,900. I still think it's just way overinflated based off of how he played, going on a couple months ago. So there you go.
Here's what's going to happen. I want to stay on Bryson because come Wednesday night, you're going to be looking at ownership projections, and Bryson's going to be like 6% projected. He's going to be low, and you're going to be like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
And then that's tempting. That's tempting. I am trying to talk myself out of it because my fade in this range is Bryson as well. You cannot, from what we're hearing, from what we're seeing, from what the USGA has made it very clear they want to do with this golf course, you cannot play this golf course well missing the fairway, which means Bryson has to dial it back off the tee. He has to. But so you're taking away his greatest weapon, but he's not even tour average with his irons right now. He's awful. He's terrible. So you're moving him further back from in the fairway from where he's typically used to if he hits a fairway. And you're moving him, you're putting a long, not longer. God, he's so complicated. You're not putting a longer club in his hand because all of his clubs are the same damn length, but you're putting a different club. The face angle is different, for crying out loud, if you're moving him back, right? And then his game around the green is so bad. I think that for Bryson to come out in top 5, top 10, this thing would be, he's going to have one of the best, chipping around the green performances he's had in recent history. So I think Bryson is the obvious fade here. So I am going to play DJ. I will pay the 11.5. I think there's plenty of value down below we can mess with. For someone who putts best on POA surfaces, for someone who is playing the way that DJ is playing right now, I can't avoid him, and I want to play him. I like the win equity. I think he has more win equity than anyone else in the field right now at this moment, with everything clicking the way that it's clicking, and I want to have the winner. And I honestly believe DJ is the clear favorite coming into this week. He just is. And he's got a great U.S. Open record, as we all know, incredible U.S. Open record. I mean, just in the last 5 years, a first, a runner-up, and a third. So I gotta have DJ. I agree with you on Xander. And I think Xander may be a little chalky. People are going to dodge Rory right now, and I think you should. I think Rory's not there right now. He's not all there at the moment. He finished top 10 at East Lake, but remember, there's only 30 players, so he's just not all the way there. So I think people are going to play Xander. I think I could see him being popular, but I don't care. And I'm not super worried about the iron play as much. He's also got a really solid U.S. Open record. He's played 3 U.S. Opens. His worst finish is a 6th. That, last time I checked, is pretty solid. Xander just shows up for big golf tournaments. So Xander's a must for me. And then I'm gonna go and play. You mentioned Webb, and I definitely don't mind Webb at all. I mean, it's hard to avoid Webb, but as we say with every major, with every really strong field, you have to plant your flag. You cannot play them all. You have to make choices. You don't need to play them all. You need to plant flags on 2 or 3 guys up here and be okay not playing a guy that you like. Like Webb is that guy for me. I like Webb. If you hit me up in the Nut Hut on Wednesday night and want me to talk you out of Webb, I'm not going to talk you out of Webb if that's who you like. But I am going to go with Daniel Berger at 9,200. I get a little bit of a price break from a guy like Webb, and the form, the ball striking, the fairway finding, the around the green, everything is solid. Historically, a good POA putter. I guess he's still like really trying to make this Masters campaign for the 2020 Masters that he's not in. I feel like he's like somewhat motivated to do that. I don't know. Decent U.S. Open record history. He's made 4 or 5 cuts his best finish was a 6th. But I think Berger is as good a bet as any, and I love the price at 9,200. My cash play is going to be another guy who has a tremendous U.S. Open record. If he can hit some fairways, that would be nice. And that is Hideki Matsuyama. Love the savings with Hideki at 9,000. Great scrambler right now over the last 24 rounds, avoiding the bogeys. Irons are sharp. He's just got to hit a few more fairways. That's it. He tends to break even on POA surfaces, which is great for Hideki. He doesn't lose a bunch of strokes. And again, great U.S. Open record. I feel like in a golf tournament where you really are trying to get 6 guys through the cut, if you can get 6 guys through the cut this week, you are on a roll. If you can get 5 or 6 through, you're probably good as long as you have some leverage. I think Hideki's a solid cut maker at 9K. So that's what I got.
Okay.
Yep. All right, let's get down into the 8K range on DraftKings. I'll kick us off here. Oh, this is tough, man. This is tough to narrow down. I think I'm probably gonna screw you up here, Pat. I'm gonna play Tommy Fleetwood. Did I screw you up?
You screwed me up. Damn it.
So Tommy, rounding into some form, the more I dug into Tommy, the more I started liking it, right? If you're looking at PGA Tour stats right now, they're okay. The irons are a little poor based on some, his struggle since the restart. He just finished third in Portugal on the European Tour. So obviously played well this past week. I think he's going to come under a little bit low owned here. Great U.S. Open record. Plays difficult golf courses pretty well. Best putting surface historically on the PGA Tour is POA. Has the distance and the accuracy combo off the tee. He's also, all right, so we talk about this from time to time. There's a book, a sports book that we reference that we don't usually point people to because their numbers are too good, right? And you don't want too good numbers. You want appetizing numbers, right? But there's a sports book that we reference that we believe has the sharpest numbers for golf. We think that their odds are the most accurate odds out there. But we don't really want the most accurate. But right now they have Tommy Fleetwood with the same odds to win this golf tournament as Patrick Cantlay, Daniel Berger, better than Hideki, same as Finau, just slightly longer than Webb Simpson. And you're getting him at an $8,900 value on DraftKings. So they believe in the win equity of Tommy Fleetwood. I do too. So I'm going to go with Tommy there. Then I'm going to go down to Adam Scott. What can you say about Adam Scott? Been playing very solid lately. Not real high finishes, but I think in this event where par is your friend, I actually like that better for Adam Scott than a birdie fest. But he checks every single box. And then it's a toss up for me, man. I don't know. I may have to actually. You know what? I would say, because I think Scott may be a little more popular than these other two. So I'll take Scott as my cash play. If I were going to play cash lineup, I put Scott in cash. I am going to roll with the next 2 guys in tournaments. And one is Patrick Reed. Love Patrick Reed here. I mentioned that I was valuing strokes gained around the green, patience, bogey avoidance, grinder. That is Patrick Reed. 85 hunch. I'll take some Patrick Reed shares for sure. And then I'm going to go to another one that may be a little more popular this week, but that is Tyrrell Hatton. I haven't really been a big believer in Tyrrell Hatton so far in the restart. It's kind of burned me a little bit. He's played really well. If you look at the non-starting strokes at East Lake, he finished 5th, I believe. So played great at East Lake. Checking all the boxes, putts well on POA, another grinder, kind of guy. A T21 and a T6 in his last 2 U.S. Opens. For only $8,100, I think he also gives you win equity. So, and the guy won Bay Hill. That's a tough tournament, strong field, tough golf course. So I'll roll with Tyrrell Hatton. And then my fade is Tiger. We got to talk about Tiger. If it's a major championship week, we have to talk about Tiger. And I think this is an easy fade, honestly. It's similar to Bryson. It's kind of a cop-out fade. He's not played well at all since the restart. He's not checking boxes. He's not scrambling well. He's making big numbers. His irons are okay. But I don't know. I don't love Tiger here. He's not doing it for me. So 8,600, I'm out on Tiger. I would advise you to stay away from Tiger. And that same book that I'm talking about gives Tiger the same odds to win as they put him in the Ricky Fowler, Patrick Reed category. So take that for what you will. But I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, I'm playing Patrick Reed, but they put him, right in that range. So that's it for me in the 8K. Oh, people are going to be yelling at us about your ice and your Yeti, by the way. Thanks for that.
That's all they might as well hear in this range, because you just basically named every effing player that I had written down. So I don't have anything else to add. I have one to add. I mean, my GPP was Fleetwood and Hatton, and my cash was Scott. So I mean, you had everything I had written down, which really pisses me off because I didn't think you'd go Fleetwood, but whatever. So my fade's going to be Jason Day at 8,800. I feel like we may have missed if you didn't play him back when he was hot.
You think you missed the boat, maybe?
I think you missed the boat, because after the PGA Championship, where he was T4, he had a miscut at the Northern Trust. He was 64th at the BMW Championship. We know he's always got a little bit of an injury risk in there somewhere. And if he's hacking it out of the rough, which he's probably going to be doing a good amount this week, he could hurt his back or do something, or, tweak an ankle, or I don't know. You just never know with Jason Day. He's not very accurate off the tee. Does have decent distance, and he's great around the greens. We know that Jason Day is one of the best scramblers on tour, but his approach game right now isn't that great as well, as far as the ball striking and everything else. So I think that, people might, if it will, I'd like to see where ownership is on him.
Today, Junior, you okay?
Anyway, Jason Day's my fade, and everybody else, I'm with you. This just drives me crazy.
Well, do you want to start the 7K, or do you want me to do that?
No, I can start the 7K.
Okay. Maybe you'll steal my place.
Let's see if that happens. I doubt it does.
This is the nitty-gritty right here. This is where big decisions have to be made here, Pat.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys that I actually like in here. So I will start at the top with Paul Casey at 7,900. I like him this week. I think he is a good play. Checks the box in approach. He's second. Sorry, I was looking at different. He does not check the box in strokes gained around the green. He definitely has the distance. He's 24th in distance. He's 37th in fairways gained. He's third in the field in bogey avoidance. He can be frustrating. He can definitely be frustrating as far as his play, but I don't think the ownership is going to be that huge on Paul Casey this week. I mean, it'll be, maybe in that 10 to 15% range, which I'm okay with for tournaments. So I like Paul Casey at 7,900, and he's been in pretty good form. I mean, he had that second place finish at the Northern Trust. I think that was important for him. 23rd at the Wyndham, T19 at the PGA Championship. So, no, sorry, God, I keep looking at the wrong guy. Sorry, he was second at the PGA Championship. Sorry. Anyway,
you know what? I should just go first in every range and then let you just say, yeah, copy and paste.
Yeah, and so, well, what I'm getting mixed up with Casey is my cash play, which is actually Harris English, also at 7,900. So I'm looking literally right next to both of those guys. Harris English, we obviously know, is in great form as well. He's a guy that's just consistent and it's all get out, and that's what you want for cash plays. Checking the box in approach, also around the green. He is second in the field in strokes gained around the green. So he is another guy I like in cash is Harris English. My other GPP play is going to be Mr. Matthew Wolff. Yes, it's 7,700.
Wow.
I like some Wolff this week. I think that's going out there a little bit. Doesn't check the box in scrambling, but he's third in the field in ball striking, 16th in strokes gained approach. He's been great with his irons recently, 8th in driving distance, 41st in driving accuracy. So not only does he freaking bomb it off the tee, but he's actually fairly accurate when you think about it compared to the field. He is also, where is he right here? 11th in the field in bogey avoidance. I like some Matthew Wolff at 7,700, and I think his ownership is going to be super low. So, there you go.
Interesting.
My fade is going to be Abraham Answer at 7,700. Look, I mean, the form hasn't been incredible lately. I think he's going to garner a decent amount of ownership. 79th in ball striking, 103rd in approach, 100th in strokes gained around the green. 92nd in driving distance. He is very accurate off the tee, and he does check the box in bogey avoidance. But I think Answer could be set up for a bad week, and I think a lot of people might be on him based off that price, and he's a good name right there. I'm going to fade him. I think he's a decent fade. So there you go.
He hits it so straight, dude. He hits it so straight.
He does.
I mean, he made the cut at three of the most difficult. I mean, nothing flashy, but he made the cut at three of the most difficult courses we've seen all year: the BMW at Olympia Fields, the PGA at Harding Park, and then a 58 at Memorial when Jack's place was crazy. Yeah. And on all three of those, he really wasn't. He was sucked with his irons, but he's just so accurate off the tee. He doesn't suck off the tee.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a tough
week. Last GPP play, by the way. This is one I wanted to save to the end.
Oh, I thought you already.
No, I didn't. I gave two. Louis Oosthuizen.
Damn it, Pat.
6.
You've literally done what I just did to you in the 8K. You've done to me.
Yeah, love some freaking Louis. I mean, his form is damn good. I mean, T25 at the BMW, T13 at the Northern Trust, T33 at the PGA Championship, T6 at the WGC. He is checking boxes. He's a great player for a U.S. Open style golf course, especially a very difficult golf course like Wingfoot is.
Great U.S. Open record.
And his ownership is probably going to be low. I would not expect.
People just don't play Louis right now. I don't know.
They don't. So he is actually my favorite tournament play in this 7K range. So there you go. Now I'll let you go.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, before I get into that, it sure was nice seeing the teams back on the old gridiron today, Pat. I don't know if you watched any of the NFL. But lucky for us, it was just week one because the Falcons sucked. But there's no better place to get in on all the action than DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. To add to this week's excitement, DraftKings has millions of dollars in total prizes up for grabs. If you haven't tried DraftKings yet, head to the App Store now because you don't want to miss this. Draft your lineup and feel the sweat like never before. Every run, pass, and catch means more with DraftKings. It's simple. You pick your lineup, you stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Nothing adds to the excitement of watching the game quite like having a shot at millions of dollars in prizes. DraftKings has paid out billions, that's with a B, of dollars to winners since 2012, so they know a thing or two about cold, hard cash, brother. I'm going to call some action right here, so everybody be ready. Download the DraftKings app now and use code Tour Junkies. For a limited time, new users can get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes this week. Don't miss out on the week 2 action. Enter code Tour Junkies to get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes with your first deposit. That is code Tour Junkies only at DraftKings. Make it rain, baby. I guess Pat's gone to get a refill, or his tiny old man bladder is letting him down and he has to go tinkle. So I will say, I got to be honest with you. Now, if you're new to the Tour Junkies show, we've done this for 5 years, and every show, without fail, we don't talk to each other about our picks ahead of time. We don't give any inclination as to who we like, who we don't like, what our stats are, none of that. And there are many shows where there's agreement, and there are some shows where there is a lot of disagreement. This apparently is a show where, at least early on Sunday night, as we're recording this, there's some agreement. I had 3 names circled as my favorites for some tournament GPP leverage in DFS. As my favorites, not the only guys I like in the range, but as my favorites were Harris English, Paul Casey, and Louis Oosthuizen. My favorite in this is Louis. I definitely agree with the Louis Oosthuizen play. Long hitter, straight hitter, incredible U.S. Open record. Go back and check it out, people. It's really freaking good. Okay, in good form right now. I think Louis got a real shot here. Also, like the Paul Casey play, I referenced that sportsbook, right? The one that I tend to believe has really solid odds. His odds are better than are shorter with that book than some of the names in the 8K above him, and definitely a lot of the names in the 7K with him. So I believe in the Paul Casey play. And then I think Harris English too. I mean, I totally agree, Pat. I cannot believe I did it to you in the 8K and you did it to me in the 7K. So let me just toss out. Those are my 3 favorites. So I want to lock that in. Those are my 3 favorites: Louis, Casey English. The honorable mentions that I guess I'll mention because I want to give the people a couple more picks. I'm going to get on Billy Horschel. I'm disappointed in how he played Eastlake. I am disappointed in what he did there. I thought he was going to play better at Eastlake. He did not. But, made 4 out of his last 5 cuts at the U.S. Open with 2 top 25s, 2 T32s. That's pretty solid. He's going to be low owned, $7,500, and he just does everything pretty good, pretty okay is kind of what he does. So I think Billy's interesting, and I don't know. I kind of, a part of me is looking at Martin Keimer. Part of me is looking at Martin Keimer. Okay. He is. So one thing I want to reference this week is people have probably heard of Data Golf, right? Data Golf is a very interesting website. It gives you some good data on golf. And they have this tool that shows you the world golf rankings, right? And then they have the tool that shows their rankings and the difference between the two. And they rank based on a lot of things. Martin Keimer is one of those players that they have ranked drastically better than the world golf ranking that is spitting out right now. Now, Martin Keimer's been playing actually pretty good lately. If you've been paying attention, he's been playing good on the European Tour. And he popped a little bit at the PGA, I believe it was. On the European Tour for the 2020 season, he's number 1 in strokes gained approach. He's a great combination of distance and accuracy. And as I've said before, we all know his biceps will be glistening in the sun by the afternoon, which will be a lot of fun to watch. So I kind of have an eye out on Martin Keimer if he remains kind of this low-owned play. He's obviously got major championship pedigree. He's a major championship winner. He's won the Players Championship. He's a pretty solid name out there. So those would be a couple other names. Pat, now we are into the 6K range. I will let you go. Give me your favorites, and then I will give you my favorites. And then I'm going to talk through some of these other European Tour players that I know people are going to be asking us about, and I know you're going to hear people talk about, but I want to give you some context for some of these new names, new faces that we're seeing here in the field for the U.S. Open. So I'll let you start.
All right. Well, I'll start at the top up here with a guy that I think is just a good U.S. Open style player. We've seen him play well recently, and that is Chez Reavie at 6,900. I think he's a good play this week. Now, obviously, he's not extremely long off the tee, but he is
really
very
good
active.
At the Safeway this week too.
He did. I think he's top 5 right now, right? Or
anyway, he's tied for 3rd.
Second in the field in driving accuracy.
Freaking Stewart Sink. You got to be freaking kidding me.
Stewart Sink. Hey, good week for Georgia Tech, by the way. They beat Florida State. They're just having a great week.
Sink is fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, Chez Reavie, he's 14th in bogey avoidance. He is 7th in the field in strokes gained approach, 21st in ball striking. I like him at 6,900. Then I'll drop down to, I'm going to have more. Actually, you talked about how much you like the 6K range. I'm going to have more than I usually have. You talked about this last week that I don't have a ton of guys that I take down here. Well, I'm kind of I'm doubling that this week. I'm gonna have a lot more.
Let's go crazy.
And I like Lanto Griffin at 6,500. I think he's a good play as well. He's been playing really well recently. You check the stats on Lanto. Let me get to him here real quick. At 6,500, 33rd in the field in ball striking, 15th in strokes gained approach. Not a long guy off the tee at all. But he is a decent scrambler, and I just like his form. So at 6,500, I think he is a good play. Sebastian Munoz at 6,600 is another good play that I like this week. He's very hot right now, and he's doing it with his irons. He's doing it with his ball striking. He's a great scrambler. He's when you talk about a 6,600 guy, he's 45th in the field in driving accuracy. That's not that bad. And 33rd in the field in bogey avoidance. I think he is a good play down there at 6,600. Next guy that I will mention is, if I could read my writing, and I can't. So you go next because I can't read what I
Dude,
just wrote.
you know this is a U.S. Open show, right? Like this is supposed to be kind of a big deal. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I just realized I also didn't give you my fade for the 7K range,
See,
which is Gary.
this is a U.S. Open show, DB,
Well, I mean,
and
I
you.
figured it out. You didn't even catch it. You didn't even know. But my fade would be Gary Woodland, defending U.S. Open champion, has been in not great form. If you look since the restart, traditionally not a great scrambler historically, and now in the short term, not a great scrambler. He is a good kind of par maker, grinder, bogey avoider, sure, but just not great lately and not great long term, especially scrambling. Don't believe it, not buying it. And then my cash play for the record I had written down is Louis Oosthuizen. So I realized I forgot all that stuff. So
I remembered who my other play here in this
who's that?
range, and that is, I'm going to say the name wrong, but Matthias Schwab.
I think that's right. Schwab,
6,500. I think he's a good play this week. You know, he's checking the box in. Hang on.
What is he? Good Lord.
Ball striking,
this is
approach,
great.
strokes gained around the green, bogey avoidance. I like some Schwab at 6,500. One of those Euro Tour guys. You mentioned you have several down here that you like. I think he could be someone that makes a little bit of noise this week. Very cheap at 6,500. So he will be my last 6K guy that I will give you.
Well, yeah, he's a Euro Tour guy. He's been playing a lot on the PGA Tour here lately. By the way, shout out to Marcus Miklovich for helping me self-discover that all along I've been confusing Chris Baker and Christian Behuizenhout. I figured that out. So I'm sorry for misleading the people last week and weeks prior talking about Chris Baker being a Euro. He's not a Euro. He's literally from like freaking Indiana. So my bad there. My bad. That was on me.
Okay.
That was on me, folks. That was on me. I'm sorry. Just let me knock that out real quick. Hey, I got to remind the people, though, before I get into the 6K, my pick for the 6K, the Nut Hut. If you've not joined the Nut Hut and you're like, what the hell is the Nut Hut? On tourjunkies.com. That is our private member-only chat room. We do a member-only YouTube video. That is where we take our caddy inside information, our PGA Tour coach inside information, and we put it up there on Tuesday or Wednesday before the golf tournament. Where just last week we had insight on two players that were both 9K and above, big name players for the Safeway Open. They were both 9K and above. We gave you inside info. One of them trunk slammed, and one of them finished 52nd. I'll let you figure out who they were. But that was pretty good information, right? Pat chose to ignore one of the pieces of information and just tanked himself like an idiot, but it is what it is.
You also didn't like my FGS Pop the Court play of the week, which was Mr. Kevin Strillman. Pretty sure you were anti-Strillman in the Nut Hut, and he finished in the top 5.
Yeah, good job. Anyway, I'm talking about the Nut Hut right now, Pat. Why are you distracting the people from the Nut Hut? The people need to go to the Nut Hut and subscribe, because what I'm talking about is only $10 a month. Literally $10 a month. That's it. $10 a month for like $250 a week. We do a freaking there's 50 golf tournaments coming up in the next 52 weeks. Okay, so for that little amount of money, you have the potential of having a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks where we give you some really valuable inside information that will help you pivot or not make a mistake or do something different. And you get to chat with me and Pat and Ben every Wednesday night about last minute lineup decisions, sports betting stuff, questions, whatever. And there's a ton of sharp people in the Nut Hut, a lot of sharp members. In fact, since the restart, Nut Hut members have won $3 million since June 8th. It is September, 13th right now. Since June 8th, Nut Hut members have won $3 million in DFS. That's huge for only $10 a month or $90 a year. Go to tourjunkies.com, join the Nut Hut, come hang out with us, with Ben, with fellow Nut Hut members. And starting this week, we will have a brand new Nut Hut listener league, right? Where there are going to be many ways throughout the year for you to get a chance to win a trip next fall to come meet me and Pat and play golf with us at either Pat's home course at the Landings in Savannah, Georgia, or my home course in Augusta at Champions Retreat. It's going to be a great time. Congratulations to Marcus Griffin, the 2019-2020 winner of the Nut Hut Listener League. Marcus will be hosting you at one of those places. I would assume you're probably going to pick Augusta because I think you've already played with Pat before at some point. So you're probably not going to want to play with him again. But congratulations to you. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of different ways to win. So sign up for the Nut Hut today. If you're driving in your car, pull over and sign up. It's $10 a month. All right. And we have a lot of fun. We laugh. It's very zany in the Nut Hut. I think that's the best word to describe it. It's just a zany place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say, I would agree with that for sure.
And you get 20% off on anything you buy for the lifetime of your membership from the tourjunkies.com shop. 20% off anything. That's pretty good.
And hopefully coming up here shortly, we're going to have some good stuff in there for the Masters. So we'll see.
Working on some Masters merch right now. Oh, I just spit out some ice. Okay. Let's talk 6K for DB. All right. I'm going to start right at the top. I want a guy who's going to make a cut, who probably doesn't give me win equity, but I think he gives me top 10 equity, and that's Kevin Na. $6,800. Finished 7th at the U.S. Open, finished 12th at the U.S. Open over the last 5 years. Definitely an accurate player, tends to be a grinder, patient player, also frustrating player, but I think Kevin Na is worth a look in tournament play. So I'll go with Kevin Na. Okay. I'm going to skip some of my Euro guys for now. I tell you what, after the performance at the Safeway, your boy Kevin Streelman is popping. He's accurate for sure. So somebody to pay attention to, somebody to look at. You mentioned Sebastian Munoz, man. I mean, the guy is playing really, really well right now, and he's checking a lot of boxes. Doesn't have a whole lot of U.S. Open history, one U.S. Open, one missed cut, but he is checking some boxes. Pay attention to Sebastian Munoz at $6,600. He's a longer, he's kind of long, and lately, at least, he's been hitting it straight, scrambling really well, avoiding big numbers. So Sebastian Munoz, I mean, he finished, I think he was top 10.
Top 10
in the
last
Tour
two
Championship,
events.
8th at the BMW, which is a really tough course. He did miss the cut at the PGA. I don't know. He's somebody I'm going to look a little more into, I think, is Sebastian Munoz. Here I come again. I mean, Ryan Palmer, like he doesn't hit the ball very straight. I don't know. Probably not. I'm probably talking myself out of Ryan Palmer. Matthias Schwab is a guy that I had written down. He has definitely been playing well on the PGA Tour since he kind of started this year. Didn't do great at Memorial or the PGA, two tough golf courses, but he did finish 32nd at 3M, 42nd at the Wyndham, 42nd at the WGC. Seems like a cut maker, doesn't get himself into a lot of trouble. Somebody that, I may have some interest in. And then Christian Bezenhout, not Chris Baker, is somebody that I am also interested in. So I mentioned Data Golf, and I mentioned how they have the world golf rankings. Christian Bezenhout is a guy that is interesting. He is much higher ranked. Let me find where he is. Okay, Seabez. I like to call him Seabez, so I don't have to pronounce his name. Okay, Seabez is, let's see. Where is he? Okay. Seabez in Data Golf. Let's see. There's a big discrepancy here. Okay, he's 52nd officially in the world golf ranking. Data Golf has him at 35th, and he's playing pretty well right now on the PGA Tour. He's not doing too bad. He's an accurate player off the tee. I think Seabez is an interesting look at 6,500. I totally agree with your Chez Reavie play. I think Chez is going to be pretty popular, but I do like where he's at. Accurate, playing well. Like I said, just finished third at the Safeway, but I think he is going to be rather chalky for sure. Now, Corey Connors, great tee to green. Maybe we can get a little inside info on him come Wednesday night in the Nut Hut and how he's putting. I talked about this place tends to level the playing field with bad putters, and that's his thing. He's a horrible putter. I mean, we found out at the PGA, we put this in the Nut Hut. Actually, this was on the Nut Hut, inside information, that Corey Connors was trying out all these different putting styles, like the week of the PGA. He was so lost and he missed the cut. So we know he's not a great putter, but if these POA greens could possibly neutralize that, he's a tremendous ball striker. So Corey's interesting, maybe a pivot from a guy like Chez Reavie, who I do think is going to be popular. But All right, that's that. Let's talk about some of these Euros, Pat. Do you have any Euros, by the way, that kind of stand out to you? You have a question about? Maybe you could be the listener. You could be the guy who's like, hey, what about this guy? So as you're scrolling through, and there may be there's some that I'm ignoring, but there are a handful that I'm not.
I mean, I mentioned Schwab, who I think is a decent, is obviously he's a Euro. Yeah. I think people always look at Thomas Pieters because he's one of those guys that popped a few years ago. I think that's one that is interesting to me.
Let's talk about Thomas Pieters.
You tell me a little bit of, give me some more about Thomas Pieters. Maybe why Mike should play him. Now, he doesn't have a great U.S. Open record. He's missed the cut, both times he's played in 2017 and 2019. But he's an interesting name to me, so I'll put him out there. And then the other one that I thought,
well, no. Let's stop and talk about Pieters real quick. I want to talk about him. All right. So Thomas Pieters is one that I am recommending that people play. I'm recommending people play Thomas Pieters. I like Thomas Pieters here, and let me tell you why. If you look on the European Tour right now, Thomas Pieters 8th in driving distance. We've always known Pieters is a bomber. Okay, we've always known that. 8th in driving distance. He is 2nd in strokes gained approach. He is 21st in strokes gained around the green. That's all pretty good. Okay, and while being 8th in distance, he's 61st in driving accuracy, which doesn't sound sexy. But out of 140 players, he's in the top, what is that, like top 40% of players on the European Tour in accuracy, and one of the top longest players on tour. And he plays well with his irons, and he scrambles his dick off pretty good. He finished 15th at his last event, 3rd the event before that, 21st the event before that. We just haven't seen a lot of him. He's a Ryder Cup player. Thomas Pieters is a big player, like a big quality name out of Europe that hits it a long way. We've seen him in the past be kind of a hothead. I believe if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Maybe somebody on YouTube can correct me. I think he's had a child lately. Maybe that's kind of like leveled him out a little bit. But I think Thomas Pieters is one of the Euros that I would say, yeah, I think let's have, if you like a little sprinkle of Thomas Pieters, I think you sprinkle a little Thomas Pieters. Okay. What's another one? Why don't you throw out another one, Pat?
Another one. I'm going to go a little bit lower on you here. And at 6,300, Justin Harding.
Justin Harding is a big fat fade for me. He is sucked on the web.com or Corn Ferry Tour lately. I can't believe I just said that. Yeah, just a fade for me. He's a longer hitter, fine. He's done okay on some PGA Tour events. I'm going to say no on Justin Harding. Lately, the form is not great.
Okay. Another guy, let's see here. I'm going to ask you about
Fun game.
Andy Sullivan.
I'm glad you asked me about Andy Sullivan, Pat. I am going to recommend that people maybe play Andy Sullivan. Okay. Here's where we are with Andy Sullivan. All right. He just won a European Tour event just a handful of weeks ago, like 4 weeks ago. Here are his last 5 events on the European Tour. 41st, win, 47th, 9th, miscut. Pretty good form. Like that's solid form on the European Tour. Andy Sullivan has played in major tournaments throughout the years. He's been a good player for a while. Okay. Confirmed on YouTube, Thomas Pieters did have Marcus Miklovich confirmed that Thomas Pieters had a little girl in July. See, I was right. Strokes gained, home life. He checks the box. Back to Andy Sullivan. If you look at his European Tour record or statistics, 51st in distance, 82nd in accuracy. Okay. So just kind of that kind of middle guy, right? He's probably like who would we compare him to on the PGA Tour? We'd probably compare him to like like a Billy Horschel. He's like a Billy Horschel. He's like pretty accurate, okay distance. Actually, he's probably worse than a Billy Horschel. Anyway, he's not bad. 3rd in strokes gained approach on the European Tour, and top 50% in strokes gained around the green. Not a bad scrambler, but he's got experience. That's what I kind of like about Andy Sullivan. Is he's got major championship experience, and I think he could be I think he could be a guy that, does okay. He finished 23rd at his last U.S. Open. So not too shabby for 6,300. All right, ask me another one.
Okay. Lucas Herbert. Herbert.
I have nothing on him. Ask me another.
Okay. All right. Eddie Pepperell. I just did that.
Nothing on Eddie Pepperell.
Okay. How about this one? This was a good one for you because I've seen him. I just feel like he's popped somewhere on Twitter or whatever. But Connor Syme.
Yeah.
Anything on him?
Good young player. He's been really hot on the European Tour right now. So yeah, if you look at his game log on DraftKings, he's finished 8th, 3rd, and 19th his last 4 events. Not too shabby. Let me see what. Actually, I didn't look at where his. Let me tell you his data golf world ranking. All right, official world ranking is 205. Data golf has him at 161. Obviously, they think they're higher on him than the world golf ranking. However, knowing what I know about some of the other players in here and where data golf would rank them, I would probably say he's a fade.
All right, I'm going to mention a guy real quick who's not European, but I think worth mentioning because we're from Augusta. We got to mention Grayson Sigg at 6,100, who has been lighting it up on the Korn Ferry Tour lately. I don't know I think if you play him, it's just because you want to, and it's a little bit of a flyer play, and he's cheap as hell, but he is in great form. I think Grayson Sigg could be a guy that you could throw in a lineup in a tournament, and he might pop. You never know with the U.S. Open. I mean, we get some crazy guys that make the cut and give it a run at the U.S. Open. I mean, hell.
We do. If it were me, I'd rather play Will Zalatoris at 66.
I would. I agree with that.
As good as Grayson Sigg's been on the Korn Ferry Tour, Will
Zalatoris has been amazing.
Has been unbelievable. In fact, Data Golf has Zalatoris as the 42nd ranked player in the world. That is tremendous. He just finished runner-up today.
He is amazing.
Yeah, runner-up today at another Korn Ferry event. Yeah. Zalatoris, I think, is worth hitting over on the sportsbook side. I think he's worth a top 20 or top 10 bet.
I agree with that.
All right, let me not delay this any further and talk about a couple more European Tour players. One is Rasmus Højgaard.
My goodness.
Or whatever. He is at $6,800. Okay. Here are Rasmus's most recent finishes. You ready for this? 2nd, 6th, 3rd, win, 31st on the European Tour. AKA pretty good. Bookmaker. Anyway, let me talk about this. In terms of his stats on the European Tour, he is 5th in driving distance. Hits it a long way. Young kid. 63rd in driving accuracy. So top 40% in accuracy. And number 5 in distance. Pretty solid. He is 13th in strokes gained approach and 71st in strokes gained around the green. I'm pretty sure this is Rasmus's first major, which is obviously pretty big. But if you're going to play, I mean, it's tough. This is a big boy tournament. This is big for the young fella. He's $6,800, but I think in a large GPP, you don't get crazy. He's going to be like 3% owned or less. If you're playing mass entry on DraftKings or FanDuel or something, he might be worth a sprinkle. That's all I'm saying, because he is a very talented young player, and he is hot. He is in hot form right now. So I think he has upside to finish top 20. I think that's legitimately his upside. So, and Højgaard is he's a young boy. So, all right. And then I'm going to give you another one. Where is he? Let me make sure I pronounce his name right. Romain lettuce. I love romaine lettuce. It's actually my favorite type of lettuce. If I had to pick any lettuces, it would be romaine.
I would actually agree with that. I would agree with that.
Yeah, romaine Langask, I guess, is who he is. His recent finishes on the European Tour go like this: 57th, 26th, win, miscut, and a 17th. 37th in driving distance, 48th in driving accuracy. So a great total driving kind of guy. 26th in approach, 87th in around the green play. Not as great of a scrambler, but Romain is an interesting lettuce and option for this week. Now, a big name that has been playing really well in the European Tour is Sam Horsfield, and I like Sam Horsfield. I like his name, but I think I'm a fade on Sam. He's definitely a long hitter. I think I'd rather play Rasmus. He's as long as Rasmus is as long as him, but he's more accurate based on European Tour stats. So I think I'll avoid Horsfield, and Rasmus has a better strokes gain approach number as well. So there you go. A few of the European Tour names I think all the people will be asking us about, and I wanted to get ahead of it. So there you go.
Wow. I never thought we would spend that much time on the Euro guys and the
It's the U.S. Open,
range.
and people are going to ask us. I think it's valuable information. They can skip forward if they don't like it. Pat, let's get into the sportsbook section of tonight. We're only talking outrights because we're recording this on Sunday night. We can't really find a whole lot of matchups, top 10s, top 20s. So we're going to give a first look at some of the outrights here tonight. But you're going to want to make sure you catch us on tourjunkies.com. Look at the blog, DB's Big Balls betting card coming out on Tuesday at the latest. And then as well in the Nut Hut member chat over on tourjunkies.com. We'll help you with our final betting options and our betting card come Wednesday night and how that will look. But there are some very good lines to look through. And I just want to kind of look through them together, Pat. I just want to look through them together as a family. Those watching on YouTube Live, me and you, let's just talk through them. I have PointsBet pulled up. PointsBet, new book based out of Australia, mate. I love the Aussies. So they came over here in the U.S. They set up shop, and now here they are. So we got PointsBet that is legal in a bunch of states. If you can bet in them, you need to do that. Promo code TJ250 gets you a bonus. TJ250, that would be nice if you use that. We're going to look at PointsBet and DraftKings Sportsbook, which I got to say, there's some definite discrepancies in some of these numbers. So if you are in one of those states where it's legal to bet in one of these books, you need to have a deposit in both and kind of play the game here.
Yeah,
Pat, I know you took a. What's that?
I've actually done the same. I've looked at DraftKings Sportsbook. I've looked at PointsBet. The numbers I'm going to give you are better on one side versus the other.
You're prepared. I love it. I love a prepared Pat. That's my favorite. Prepared Pat's my favorite. I don't see him often. Hey, Pat. No. Hey, prepared Pat for the sportsbook section.
Hi.
Hey, you took a break a minute ago to go refill, I think.
Yes, I did.
Okay, I need to go refill.
So you want me to start here?
This is going to be good. I want you to start, but I kind of hate to walk away because I do want to pay some attention to this, the sportsbook section.
Well, I mean, I can recap you when you come back if you need me to. But
okay, you go ahead.
Okay, so here's where I want to start. Now, everybody knows that DB likes to take the long shots, but I feel like this week is one of those weeks where you just can't get too crazy with the long shots. I mean, I don't have anything. I think 125-1 is literally the longest shot bet that I have this week, because as you talked about earlier, DB, really you see U.S. Open winners come out of the top 30 in the world, and that means they are not going to be, any more than like 50-1 or something like that as far as where their odds are. So I have a lot more bets in that range than I do, in the longer range. And I'll start with Xander Schauffele, and you look at PointsBet, he is at 22-1. I think that is a great number for him. He's like 14-1, I believe. Let me go back to the DK Sportsbook because I think he's.
I'm okay. I just fell up the stairs, but I'm okay.
Okay, good job. Just walk steadily, DB, as you go down the stairs. But Xander's 14-1 on the DK Sportsbook, but he's 20-1 on PointsBet. So that is a very good number for him. I like that as well. Also, Webb Simpson is at 28-1 on PointsBet versus 20-1 on DraftKings. So I think that's another good number to look at it on PointsBet. Louis Oosthuizen, who was a guy that we both liked.
Have you ever stirred a drink with a Lego?
No, but that's
Resourceful, huh?
That's very resourceful.
That's all I got up here.
So far, DB, I've mentioned Xander Schauffele at 22 to 1 on PointsBet, which was a much better number than DK. And then Webb Simpson at 28 to 1. And then Louis Oosthuizen at 66 to 1 on PointsBet, I think is another good number as well. And then longer shot.
Bet, I just want it all over myself. I want to just put it all over me.
Well, okay. All right.
Hey,
you've just given them the Lego tip. Let's stop rubbing yourself with oil and crap. But anyway, the longest bet I do have is Billy Horschel on PointsBet at 125 to 1. I think that's a good number. But switching over to DraftKings Sportsbook, let's look at that. That actually, you're going to get a much better number on Tommy Fleetwood, who is at 40 to 1 on the DraftKings Sportsbook, where he's 28 to 1 at PointsBet. So I think that's a good number for him. Tyrrell Hatton, 50 to 1. Pick your poison. Pick your best, whatever you want to bet on. He's the same number on DK Sportsbook as he is on PointsBet at 50 to 1. So there you go. Those are my outrights. There you go.
Pat, I would like to kind of vibe off of your outrights, if you don't mind. Okay, you had – all right. So we talked about this in the DFS section, that we have another sports book that will go unnamed, that we consider a very accurate golf handicapping sports book. But we don't like betting over there because they're too accurate. We want the numbers that are not accurate on the longer side of the sports book spectrum. So I want to reference some of these to that unnamed, very accurate book. One of them you mentioned, Xander Schauffele, who's 14 to 1 on DK. What is he, 22 to 1 on PointsBet? Is that right?
Yeah, 22 to 1 on PointsBet.
22 to 1 on PointsBet. Our accurate book has him at 14 to 1, where DraftKings has him. So clearly a value on PointsBet for Xander. All right, so dropping down, you mentioned what was another one that was very sexy?
Webb at 28 to 1.
No, I don't like the Webb bet. It's okay.
Usti at 66 to 1 on PointsBet.
Usti, God, I love that. 66 to 1 on PointsBet. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. Okay, well, I guess if I'm being partial here, if I got to be partial, the unnamed accurate sportsbook has Usti at 81 to 1. So F them. They got that wrong.
Okay, I like that.
Me and you both love Louis, so we love Louis this week. What is he on? Okay, well, he's 66 to 1 on both DraftKings and PointsBet. What about Hatton? You mentioned Hatton. He's 50 to 1 on both as well?
51 on both.
Okay, so a little bit of value there. The unnamed accurate sportsbook has Hatton at 41 to 1. So, okay. All right, Fleetwood was the other really good one. You said Fleetwood on DK Sportsbook was 40 to 1.
41.
But 28 to 1.
28 to 1 on PointsBet.
Jeez. Well, the unnamed accurate sportsbook has Tommy at 31 to 1. So grab that value on DK Sportsbook while you can, folks, because it may drop. It may drop. What were the other names that you said? Is that it?
I had Billy Horschel at 125 to 1 on PointsBet, where he is, I believe,
100 to 1 on DK.
I think he's 100 to 1 on DK.
He is. So actually both appear to be a value because, and obviously you want the 125 to 1 on PointsBet, but the unnamed accurate sportsbook has Billy at 81 to 1 instead of the 100 to 1 on DK and 125 to 1 on PointsBet. So they seem to like Billy Ho. Billy Ho and Louis, the same odds there from that book. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but they didn't ask me. All right, so I definitely love your Fleetwood play at 40 to 1 on DK. I will also back your Xander Schauffele 22 to 1. That's as short as I'm going. I mean, you guys know me. I let my nuts hang when it comes to golf betting. So we're going to do that. I'm not going to have a whole lot of 22 to 1 Xander Schauffele's. But if I were going to go a little shorter and I wanted to be then I would do that. I'll play Xander Schauffele, but the 40 to 1 Fleetwood is very attractive. I will definitely take that.
The world PointsBet has Tiger at 16 to 1.
Good God. Okay, this is where,
and he's 28 to 1 on like I don't understand. Like we haven't seen him even contend in a major,
and he's 46 to 1 on unnamed accurate sportsbook. 46 to 1.
this is where you see the trap. People like to bet on Tiger, obviously. So
Okay. I guess this is why I'm not a handicapper or an odds maker, because I'm thinking if I set the line at 16-1 on Tiger, I'm not going to get any action. But like, I would want a little action on Tiger. I would want a lot of action on Tiger, a lot of that public action on Tiger, and knowing that his real odds should be well longer than 16-1. Why not set the number back a little bit, get all your action? I don't understand that. That's
I
a
think
weird one.
if you think about, I looked at this earlier in the week because the U.S. Open odds have been out for a while. They must be getting action on Tiger Woods because his odds have shortened. So they're obviously getting the money coming in on him, which I don't get.
So I guess they're limiting their exposure, their risk a little bit. I mean, obviously we all need to understand the sportsbook numbers are not true in odds to win. I mean, they're trying to make money. So it's
exactly.
definitely dependent upon money coming in and out. But okay. Let me look at some other names here. Let's see. I kind of like Adam Scott. Adam Scott's 40-1. Now, here's the thing about this whole week in general. Because the way Winged Foot is setting up, we went over that in the course breakdown. Because of the way Winged Foot is setting up, because of the way U.S. Opens are trying to play, and from what we've heard of the USGA, this place playing extremely difficult. Par is your friend. I think the cream's going to rise to the top, right? This is not a fun week for me, King Dingaling, let my nuts hang, bet big numbers because it's golf and it's highly variable. Okay, not a fun week for me. This past week at the Safeway, very fun week for me because
Stuart Sink.
Because
you should have had what was Stuart Sink? He was probably 200-1.
Yeah, I bet he was longer than that. But I had 100-1 Harry Higgs, who finished runner up. But that's what I love to do. I love those events where it's a birdie fest and it brings in anybody. These events are opposites. So for me, I have to really talk myself into not getting too far out there. So I'm probably going to live in this like 40 to 90-1 range. And I think Adam Scott, Tommy Fleetwood, who you mentioned, both at 40-1 on DraftKings Sportsbook and both shorter on PointsBet. I like those numbers a lot. I like those numbers a lot. Going further down, I love the Louis number. I mean, 66. When is 66? Yeah, 66-1 on both books. I will definitely have him locked and loaded for sure. Getting a little longer, I mean, let's see here. 125, I told you we're doing this kind of first look thing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't hate your Billy Ho number. What was it? 100-1, 125-1?
125 on PointsBet.
125 on PointsBet. I don't hate that. That's a decent number. That's getting out there. I tell you, I mean, even though he's not checking a lot of boxes, it's tough for me to not have like a little bit of a quarter unit on Abe Answer at 80-1. That's just tough for me to give up. Kiz at 80-1. What's he on PointsBet? Let's see. Well, where is he? Oh, he's one. Dude, Kisner is 150-1 on PointsBet and 80-1 on DK.
My goodness.
Holy Nikes. Let's see where he is on unnamed accurate sportsbook. I just now noticed that. He's 86-1.
PointsBet must be factoring in, like, thinking there's going to be fans out there at the U.S. Open.
PointsBet's factoring in really dumb tweets is what they're factoring in. However, I would, if I were in a legal state, I would be jumping on that like right now.
Yeah,
that's not a bad number. I mean, Kiz is accurate off the tee, great,
and he's in good form,
good putter, in good form. That is a great number. Wow, that's shocking. Just stumbled on a little piece of gold right there, maybe. Yeah. I mean, other than that, so for me, it's like Fleetwood. Oh, Hatton. I do like the Hatton play. For me, it's like Fleetwood, Scott, Hatton. Was Hatton a sports book? I mean, points bet or DK?
Hatton's 50 to
They're
1 on
the
both.
same. So Fleetwood, Scott, Hatton are all the same. So 40 to 1, 50 to 1, 40 to 1 for Fleetwood and Scott, 51 for Hatton. 66 to 1 for Louis is the same on both. Love that. Kisner on points bet for sure, 150 to 1. I mean, even if you hate the guy right now, you got to throw something down on that. That's too good. And then Billy Ho at 125. Yeah, that's probably about it for me. I'm not going to stretch it. I do think a longer number in the top 10, top 20 market when it comes out is going to be Will Zalatoris, the web.com stud right now, who Data Golf would say is the 46th best player in the world. 42nd best player in the world. I think Zalatoris is worth a look in that top 10, top 20 market. Other than that, we'll have to check and see when all the bets come out. So check us out on tourjunkies.com for that. Anything else to add to the sportsbook stuff, Pat? We ready to have a little bit of fun before we wrap this thing up?
I think that's it.
Not that we haven't been having fun. I mean, this has been so much fun, Pat. You having fun?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. All right. Final segment of tonight's podcast, the Chunk and Run, which is viewer questions, where you submit a golf-related question and a non-golf related question. It could be about literally anything, and we answered those questions. And maybe you care, and maybe you don't. And this is the part where you get rid of the podcast and you turn it off, which is fine. You can go ahead and do that because we don't have any more ad reads, so you're good. The Nut Hut, the Chunk and Run tonight comes from listener Christopher Donaldson, who sent these questions in a long time ago. This is why you got to keep the faith, people. If you send them in and we add them to the list and we don't ask them of ourselves right away, that doesn't mean they're not coming in. So Christopher Donaldson, this is your moment of glory, but maybe you've already stopped listening to us by now because you can't stand us now. But here you are. This is your claim to fame. You got the Nut Hut question. I mean, God, why do I keep saying that? The Chunk and Run questions for the U.S. Open podcast, which is a big deal. All right, Pat, let's have a little fun with this. Here we go. Ready for this one? What PGA Tour golfer would you allow to hook up with your wife if you could play 2 rounds of golf with them at any course? If so, what course, what golfer, and why? Who would you pick, Pat? Now, obviously, we would not want anyone to hook up with our wives other than us. I thoroughly enjoy hooking up with my wife. But hypothetically, if I had to do this, I came up with an answer.
Okay. This is a weird question. So let me just get this right. So it's the PGA golfer that you would let bang your wife, but then you play 2 rounds with them on any course. And if so, which golfer and why did you choose them?
What course? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to go with. This is a weird answer. This is actually a guy that I faded today. Jason Day.
Ooh. Whoa.
And
that's a terrible decision.
Let me tell you why.
Jason Day, are you insane?
I got a reason for it.
Do you have any mirrors in your house, Pat? I don't know if you've looked in a mirror lately, but Jason Day, jeez. Bold move.
Here's what's going to happen.
Jason Day.
Let's talk about the sex portion of it. They're going to be getting, ready to go, and he's going to pull a penis muscle. And then all of a sudden, he pulls the penis muscle, and so it's not even going to happen in the first place. So,
man,
immediately right off the bat,
think he's going to withdraw from it?
He's going to withdraw from it, and it's not even going to happen. So Jason Day just...
Oh, my God.
So that didn't happen. And then I'm still going to get to play golf with him, and I'm going to play Royal Melbourne because that is one of the top courses in the world that I would love to play. So I think he's going to be able to hook me up there for sure. So that's why I'm going to choose Jason Day, because I don't even think it's going to happen. He's pulling the penis muscle. He's withdrawing, and I get to play Royal Melbourne and on a fantastic golf course. And it's and I get to go to Australia, which I love Australian people. I freaking love them. I mean, if you listen, like any of them out there, just great people.
I do too. I love Austin.
They have great personalities, and I think he'd have like two people that would
run away with your wife.
He's not going to run away because he couldn't follow through with what they were about to do.
She won't care.
Yeah. So there you go. Jason Day.
Dude, that is, I mean, I get the logic. Totally get the logic. I mean, it's probably a coin flip that actually happens, but still, the accent alone, like that's pretty insane.
It's a risky move.
It's getting. I
mean, I like to take some risk.
It's getting some rave reviews from the YouTube audience, and Josh Kistler says, with that logic for DB, it's got to be Kevin Na. Except I wouldn't want to play golf with Kevin Na. I mean, I wouldn't turn it down, but it's not. Dude, yeah, with Jason Day's accent, he's tall, dark, and handsome. You are done. You're done.
Well, my initial thought was
broken dick or not, you're done.
You kind of have to weigh a little bit about like if you want to play with them, like you want to enjoy golf rounds with them or whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
And so like I thought about Bryson because I thought like Bryson would just suck so bad probably in bed that like it would just be
he'd overthink it.
He'd overthink everything, and then by the end of it, my wife would be like, "All right, this is ridiculous. Whatever. Like you suck. There's nothing that obviously, my husband is much better than you."
Why would you want to play golf with Bryson, though? I have no interest.
But that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't want to play golf with Bryson. None. I would like to play golf.
Other than to obviously he'd outdrive me every hole, so I'd be hitting first, and maybe he'd be at his ball ahead of me, and I could like purposefully somehow hit him with it, and possibly, I don't know. I can't think of a reason to play with Bryson.
Maybe Day would reciprocate too.
Okay.
He might.
I mean, I don't know. You get to play with him at Royal Melbourne if it's what does he get at it? What does he get from you? Like, what does he get from you? He gets to go put on a tie and like look at some stocks with you or something. Like, what does he get to do with you? Bring Jason Day to work day?
I don't know. I don't really think I didn't get your turn.
I kind of thought of two golfers, but the same golf course. And I do like the Royal Melbourne call. That's very good. I would love to play Royal Melbourne for sure. A bucket list golf course. Yes. But for me, it's actually the combination of player and course. For me, if I think about players, I went straight selfish DB first. All right. Who does DB want to play with? Who do I really bad want to play with? Because I'd have to want to play with you really bad to allow this to happen. Right. This can't be freaking, Joel Damon, right? Like, I love Joel. He'd be a lot of fun. We'd have it can't be Harry Hicks. We'd have a lot of fun. It can't be that because there has to be like a historic reason for me to want to play with you. And to me, Phil Mickelson is that kind of player. Like he's an iconic Hall of Fame, incredible stories, hilarious, just great player. I would want to walk the fairways of Augusta National, a course that I have gotten to play before, and you have too. But I would like to walk the course with Phil and play it with Phil. And for me, that would be worth it. Now, the advantage for me is Phil is getting up in age. While he has taken care of himself lately, he's not like some physical specimen. He's, my wife for years has made fun of Phil's man boobs, and she still feels like when she closes her eyes and looks at Phil, she sees Phil with man boobs, even though I tell her all the time, like, babe, coffee for wellness. He doesn't have man boobs anymore. He's like in shape. He's good. She still closes her eyes and sees Phil with man boobs. So I think she would not love it, and I would love it. So Phil is that. The other one for me that's like a close second is Rory. Same course. Rory at Augusta. I'd love to walk Augusta with Rory. He's a little short Irishman. Sure, Rory's in good shape right now, but like he's not some, he's not Adam Scott. You're not gonna let Adam Scott do this or Jason Day. But Rory, little little Rory with his I feel like that would be a safe one too. It's got to be safe enough, but very interesting for me on the back end of this deal. So but I think Phil's my number one. So there you go. Were you even listening? Because you look like you're just not even listening.
No, I was listening. It was great stuff.
Oh
there.
Yeah, sure, so fucking great. All right. Last thing before we get out of here tonight, if you could eliminate one thing that other people's children do, what would it be? One thing other people's children do, what would it be?
You gotta
Mine would
go
be
first
like
here.
not jump on our YouTube live while their dad is on the YouTube. Your kids.
Yeah. All right, you go first here.
Okay.
And then I'll tell.
One thing that really drives me nuts: if your kid is beyond the age of 8, if they are 8 years old or older, and you introduce me to your kid, and your kid can't look me in the eye, or speak, or shaking a hand is probably a little far, but look me in the eye and speak and say, hey, Mr. David, or hey, Mr. Barnett. Like, I hate people with little kids that can't interact with adults. It pisses me off. And to me, it directly reflects to the parents not like babying them and letting them hop on the teat anytime an adult shows up. Oh, there's an adult here. Hop on my teat so you don't have to look or talk or interact or engage. I hate that. So my kids all, well before the age of 8, if they meet an adult, a grown-up, and I say, hey, Collins, this is Mr. Pat. Say hey to Mr. Pat. Collins will say, hey, Mr. Pat, I'm Collins. And then if you go, oh, hey, Collins, how old are you, buddy? And he's like, I'm 8. Great. Are you married yet? And he'll go, no. And he can small talk and carry on a conversation with an adult. I respect that. And I want other kids to do that. When I get a kid that can't look me in the freaking eye, or I have someone very close to me who did not order her own meals at a restaurant until she was 18. If she was at the table with her parents would have to order for her because she didn't want to talk to the server. Off with her head. You know what I mean? I can't handle that. My kids will not be like that. If yours are like that, you got some fixing to do. I hate that. So that's how I would stop.
Oh, I had a tough one with kids are kids to me, so they're gonna do certain things and they're gonna react in certain ways and whatever else. You know what I hate is little smart ass shit kids that have no respect for adults and they just act like they're just cocky as shit. And they and I see this in sports when it comes to my son is playing flag football and baseball and whatever. And they talk back to adults and whatever else. But the thing is they get that from their parents. And that pisses me off because they don't have any respect whatsoever. And I don't like cocky kids. I hate cocky people and I hate cocky kids. It drives me crazy. And I feel like a cocky kid should just they don't have any humbleness to them. If you're good at sports,
that would be hard to be humble and cocky.
Yeah, it would be. So I don't know. This was a tough one for me because there's a lot of things about kids that piss me off. But I just don't like cockiness. I don't like it, and I think it comes from their parents. Comes from their parents.
Cocky kids are the worst. They're the worst. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? We got to end on that, man. Cocky kids are the worst. It is what it is. Thank you guys for sticking around. If you're still here, that's amazing. We appreciate you listening to the podcast. If you get a chance, maybe leave us a review on iTunes. Maybe that'd be nice. I don't think they call it iTunes anymore. They just call it Apple Podcasts. But leave us a review. 5 stars would be fantastic. Maybe write a little something nice. Type it up. Make it good. Make it nice. Make it funny. Make it great. Make it memorable. That'd be awesome. We're going to have a great week for the U.S. Open. We're pumped. Hope you're pumped. We're going to record Tour Junkies after dark now, Pat. And this should be a good one. Another good one.
I think it's going to be great.
I'm feeling good. I'm at Planet Wild Leap right now. I'm in the wild right now. I'm wandering.
I'm ready to go.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. May your screens be green for the U.S. Open. See ya.